Avoiding checkpoints or any other physical infrastructure on the Irish border is the UK government's #1 priority when negotiating post-Brexit arrangements for its only land frontier with the EU, a UK position paper states. The document outlining the department for exiting the European Union's aims in talks with Brussels also suggests there may be no customs implications at all on the Irish border if the UK and EU can strike an ambitious future partnership. The paper again dismisses ever suggestion a customs border could be shifted to the Irish Sea, with checks and tariffs only in operation at entry and exit points between the island of Ireland and Britain. Creating such a barrier between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK was not constitutionally or economically viable, it states. A UK government source said both sides need to show flexibility and imagination when it comes to the border issue in Northern Ireland, and that is exactly what our latest position paper will do. As Michel Barnier, EU chief negotiator himself has said, the solution cannot be based on a precedent, so we're looking forward to seeing the EU's position paper on Ireland. But it's right that as we shape the unprecedented model, we have some very clear principles. Top of our list is to agree up front no physical border infrastructure that would mean a return to the border posts of the past and is completely unacceptable to the UK. The document setting out the UK government's negotiating principles for the border comes a day after the release of its position paper on the UK's long-term customs arrangement with the 27-member bloc. Yesterday's paper proposed a time-limited transition period of around 2 years. It then fleshed out 2 potential options for a long-term deal. The more ambitious one would see the UK aligning and mirroring its customs approach with the EU model. In that scenario, today's position paper on the Irish border argues there would be no need for a customs border at all between the UK and Ireland. The second proposed customs model, dubbed the highly streamlined approach, would see the UK negotiate agreements with the EU to reduce trade barriers and harness technology to avoid long queues at ports. The paper also reaffirms the UK government's stated commitment to maintain the almost century-old Common Travel Area (CTA), which allows for free movement of UK and Irish citizens around the island. It will also include a commitment to uphold the 1998 Good Friday Agreement in all its parts. The UK government source added, our paper sets out some creative options on customs and shows the priority we place on making progress on this. Protecting trade is vital for the UK and Ireland. In 2015, Northern Ireland sold £10.7 billion of goods to Great Britain and a further £2.7 billion to Ireland, while last year Great Britain exported £13.6 billion worth of goods to Ireland, and imported £9.1 billion, so we're prioritising finding a solution that protects businesses' ability to access these important markets. Peace cannot be Brexit talks bargaining chip. The government has warned that peace in Northern Ireland cannot be a bargaining chip in Brexit negotiations. It said avoiding a return to the paramilitary violence and terrorism of the past is crucial. The emphasis on the priority areas identified by the government, including the Common Travel Area, the Good Friday Agreement, North-South cooperation and avoiding a hard border, is welcome, and government spokesman said. Protecting the peace process is crucial and it must not become a bargaining chip in the negotiations. The government said the paper from London's Department for Exiting the European Union is timely and helpful as it offers more clarity. It said it would analyse the ideas on the border and customs in detail and discuss them with the European Commission and Brussels chief negotiator. The immediate focus for the coming rounds of negotiations remains on advancing the issues identified for Phase 1 of the negotiations, including citizens' rights and the financial settlement, as well as issues specific to Ireland, the spokesman said. The government remains hopeful that there will be sufficient progress on these issues to allow the necessary parallel discussions on the future relationship between the EU and the UK, including in relation to customs, to commence. Analysis from RTE's Northern editor Tommy Gorman. This British government document on Ireland-related issues is loaded with laudable aspirations. But it begs the question how much of it can be delivered. One of the 4 sections deals with the Common Travel Area and associated rights in the Ireland-UK relationship. It contains important and realistic goals. The British government wants our citizens to retain the right to go to, live, work, access education, health services and benefits and vote in the neighbouring jurisdiction. It is likely the EU might allow the current situation to continue. The aspiration to protect the Good Friday Agreement and its outworkings, including a version of the EU peace funds, is also significant. There is a section on North-South and East-West cooperation, where the emphasis is given to protecting the island-wide market for energy. But the meat is in the section about avoiding a return to a hard border. One of the 9 principles it lists is avoiding any physical border infrastructure in either the UK or Ireland, for any purpose, including customs or agri-food checks. Another principle is to prevent the creation of new barriers within the UK, including between Northern Ireland and Britain. Unionists will cheer that line. There is talk of allowing all small and medium-sized businesses to avoid customs checks. The obvious question is, would the EU allow such an invisible border on the island of Ireland, in effect an open door for the UK into the EU while Britain is making its own trade deals? The track record of Brussels bending or tearing up the rules to suit Ireland doesn't inspire optimism.